From the beginning of time, one nation was chosen, not by power, not by numbers, but by divine promise, a land written into the heart of eternity, called by God's own voice, Israel. From Abraham's covenant under the stars, to Moses leading the people through the parted sea, from Joshua's trumpet at Jericho's walls, to David's sling against the giant. This nation's victories were never by human strength, but by the hand of the Almighty. Empires have risen and fallen, kingdoms have vanished from history. But Israel, the nation God called his own, still stands. Through exile and return, through persecution and rebirth, Israel remains a living miracle, a testimony that God's promises never fail. Even today, when the world watches with doubt, when enemies rise against her, Israel shines, not by the strength of her armies, but by the unshakable covenant of the living God. For the Lord said, I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and through you all nations of the earth will be blessed. Genesis 12:3. This is not just history. It is prophecy fulfilled. It is faith proven. It is the story of a nation chosen forever. This is the strength of Israel. In the tapestry of human history, some threads are woven with such divine intention that they alter the course of destiny itself. This is the story of one such thread, a promise made under an ancient sky, a covenant that would forge a nation and offer a blessing to the world. It begins not with a king or an empire, but with a single man, Abram of Ur, who heard a call that would echo through eternity. In a world steeped in polytheism and tribal allegiances, God chose this man, later to be named Abraham, to embark on a journey of faith. He was called to leave his home, his kin, and everything he knew, for a land he had never seen. The promise that accompanied this call was staggering in its scope, a divine declaration that would set in motion a sacred history. God said to him, I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. This was a promise of legacy, of land, and of a lineage that would become a beacon to the world. Yet, Abraham and his wife Sarah were old and childless. How could a great nation spring from a barren womb? In a moment of profound intimacy, God took Abraham outside into the stillness of the desert night and gave him a vision to hold on to. He commanded him, lift up your eyes, count the stars if you can. So shall your offspring be. This covenant was not a fleeting agreement. It was an eternal bond, passed down through Isaac and Jacob, whose 12 sons would become the 12 tribes of Israel. This nation, born from a promise, was set apart for a unique purpose, as Moses would later declare to their descendants on the plains of Moab, For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. This was not a choice based on their might or numbers, but on God's unwavering love and the oath he had sworn to their forefathers. The Lord has chosen you to be his treasured possession. This identity as a chosen people, a treasured possession, would define their journey through triumphs and trials, through exile and homecoming. It is the story of an eternal covenant, a promise that does not fade, from promise to people, from faith to fulfillment. The story of Israel's birth is not one of conventional conquest, but a tapestry woven with threads of divine intervention. It begins with the people enslaved, their spirits crushed, crying out from the heart of Egypt. Their journey to nationhood would be paved not by human strategy, but by a series of profound miracles that defied all logic. The first test came at the edge of the Red Sea. Trapped with Pharaoh's chariots thundering behind them, despair seemed inevitable. But where human hope ended, God's power began. The Exodus was initiated, seas parted, creating a path where none existed. This was a deliverance not by might, but by the undeniable hand of God, a foundational moment proving that their freedom was a divine gift. Decades later, at the gates of the Promised Land, they faced the impenetrable fortress of Jericho. The strategy for victory was not one of siege warfare, but of radical obedience. For 6 days, they marched in silence. On the 7th, Jericho's walls trembled not at the force of battering rams, but at the sound of obedience and praise. Faith marched, and the fortress fell. This pattern of divine partnership continued. When the giant Goliath mocked Israel's armies, it was not a seasoned warrior who answered the call, but a young shepherd boy armed with a simple sling and an unshakable faith. He declared, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." One stone, guided by faith, secured a victory for an entire nation. From the parting of seas to the falling of walls and the slaying of giants, the birth of this nation echoes a timeless truth, a promise captured in the words of the prophet Zechariah. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord Almighty. They wept by foreign rivers, yet the promise remained, exiled, but not erased. Then the Lord stirred the heart of Cyrus. Ezra 1:1-5. Ruins become altars. Desolation becomes home. As long as the sun shines and the stars give light, Israel will never cease to be a nation before me. Jeremiah 31:35-37. The ancient prophet Isaiah posed a question that echoed through millennia. Can a nation be born in a day? Isaiah 66:8. For nearly 2,000 years, the Jewish people were scattered across the globe, a nation without a land, clinging to a promise and a prayer. Next year in Jerusalem. The dream seemed distant, a whisper of faith against the roar of history. Yet on May 14, 1948, prophecy stepped into history. In a single momentous day, the state of Israel was declared, but celebration was short-lived. The ink on the declaration was barely dry when 5 neighboring armies invaded, determined to extinguish the newborn nation before it could draw its first breath. This was the 1948 War of Independence, a fledgling state with a citizen army of Holocaust survivors and refugees faced overwhelming odds. They were small in number, but great in resolve, fighting not just for land, but for the survival of a dream 2 millennia in the making. The trials continued. In 1967, as tensions escalated and armies amassed on its borders, Israel faced an existential threat once more. The Six-Day War was a preemptive strike born of desperation, resulting in lightning days of conflict that brought lasting, monumental change and reunified the ancient capital, Jerusalem. Then, in 1973, on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, the nation was caught by surprise. The Yom Kippur War was a brutal, costly conflict, a surprise attack that tested the nation's spirit to its core. But that initial shock was met with unyielding courage and a desperate, heroic defense that turned the tide. Through every war, every struggle, and every moment of impossible victory, a deeper truth resonates, echoed in the words of the psalmist. He who watches over Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Psalm 121:4. Today, against all odds, life flourishes under these unfailing eyes. From the ashes of history, a vibrant, innovative, and resilient society has emerged. This is the miracle of modern Israel, a nation born in a day, tested by fire, and sustained by a faith that defies explanation, protected, preserved, purposeful. God is our refuge and strength. The Lord of hosts is with us. Psalm 46:1-7. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Psalm 122:6. Has God rejected his people? By no means. Romans 11:1-2. Hope takes root and peace is sought, a testimony of faith and hope to the world. Arise, shine, for your light has come. Nations come to your light. Isaiah 60:1-3. God is not a man that he should lie. Israel's destiny will stand. Numbers 23:19. Israel stands not by might, but by the power of the living God. His covenant remains forever. Israel lives. God's promise stands forever.